I was actually in Las Vegas that day. I had been commuting, shooting The Sopranos. I lived in Vegas and I had a place here in Little Italy. And I was actually in Vegas at the time. Uh, my wife woke me up and told me that the plane had hit. And like everyone else, or a lot of people, I kind of thought like, it was an accident, like, oh man, somebody, hit into the trade center, and it was like, oh my gosh, and then by the time you saw the second one, I kind of also thought maybe, they could still, the people below it could make it out, I was watching on TV and it was, I don't know, 6 o'clock there, maybe, I don't know what the first plane hit here at 9, was it? I don't, so, uh, I found out quickly. I have three friends, three really close friends. One I went to kindergarten with, Carl Bini, Louis Modaferri, and Joey Mascali. And one I was in kindergarten with Carl. Joey, I've known since a teenager, and I actually worked for his dad. And Louis, I've known since I'm about 11 years old. We're all from Bensonhurst, all in a, I don't know, 1 mile area. One lived on Bay 8th Street. I lived on Bay 11th. One was around the corner. One was on Bay 14th Street. So know each other, know each other's families. Uh, and the thing is, uh, I found out very quickly that the three of them were there because they were in Rescue 5 in Staten Island. So it's right over the Verrazano Bridge, right there. So they got there quick. I mean, the Verrazano, right down, they got here in no time, you know. So I found that out that the three of them there, they had been working together. They grew up together, which was certainly a coincidence. I mean, they all wind up in the same firehouse in Staten Island. Uh, and uh, I hadn't seen Joey or Carl in like 20 years. I moved to Las Vegas in 1980. And we kind of lost touch. They got married and had kids. They got married way younger than me. Louis, I talk to now and then. I know his wife. I know all their wives. I was at, I know Carl's wedding. Uh, and I hadn't seen them. We just kind of lost track. And then out of nowhere, I'd say this is January 1999, they had called me. Uh, and two of them, Joey and Carl, were coming out. They were coming out to Vegas. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, I haven't seen them. I haven't really talked to them. And so out of nowhere, these two guys come. I get them a 2 bedroom suite. I do the whole works. I was an executive at the Riviera Hotel. So I pull out all the stops. These are my longtime friends. They've never been to Vegas. I want them to have a good time. So I get them comps to all the shows and I send the executive chef to their room, the chef, and he makes them whatever they want. And we just have 4 incredible days. They come to my house and they meet my kids and my wife. They had never met them. So then we stay in touch. And shortly after, I get cast on The Sopranos. So now I'm coming back here. I didn't really come back here, not much, for 20 years. From 1980 to 99, I barely came to New York. I was in Vegas. That's where my life was. And I stayed on the West Coast, California. And so I came in and Joey drove me to the audition. He drove me. I came in for the second audition, the callback. And Carl picked me up at the airport. I stayed in a hotel. Actually, at the Trade Center, the Vista. There was a Vista hotel. And I stayed there. And they picked me up. Carl picked me up from the airport 5 in the morning, I came in on the red eye because I was paying my own way back and forth. And I mean, these guys couldn't do enough for me. And then I had the audition, and Joey drove me, and then it was going to drive me back to the airport. So we stopped in Sheepshead Bay to eat. I can't help but feeling that these guys, and I know it's hard, and I'm not that guy, but out of nowhere, after 20 years, the two of them come back into my life. And he drives me to the audition, and I get the job, which actually changed my life. It's all very coincidental. It gives me chills to think about it. Uh, I find out the next day that I get the role, and I have to move back here. So I move next to the three of them in Staten Island, which I never lived before. And they had set up my, firemen are always looking to help you, man, and they moved my wife in and the kids because I was actually shooting a movie in Canada. And they, embraced them and helped them and did all the stuff handymen do. And then I moved to Manhattan and they moved me. I wasn't even there. I was living in Vegas. These two guys moved my stuff out of storage and brought it to a new apartment on Mulberry Street, And they were around. They were at the premieres. Uh, they met the cast. They were at my house. They became part of this, which was brand new success for me. They became part of this for, what was it, a year and a half, a short time, And remember one time I was late. I was running late because I used to have to take the ferry. I was running late. They called me the last minute to come in on the Sopranos. And I called Joe. I said, could you get anything you can help me? And he came with the fire truck to my house in Staten Island on Beulah Avenue and drove me with the sirens and the lights on, drove me to Silver Cup. And like people, they were stunned. Like they were going, how'd you get here so fast? I mean, and the lights are gone and I got the siren on. So we went through traffic. And I can't help the three of them, Louis also. I can't help. I mean, I don't know. They were like angels or something, man. I can't help but think these guys came back into my life. There was never a problem. It's just, friends, I went here, you go there. And they helped me succeed, because they picked me up and gave me lifts and all the things, that are hard to do. So I moved near them, and I remember seeing Carl. The last time I had saw him, it was like in August, and we actually went to see Stevie Van Zandt. Stevie was promoting or playing in the Village somewhere. We went to see him, and we were near the pizzeria, and I was going to head downtown, that Ben's Pizzeria down there, and I said, I'll see you soon. I'll be back, in a month or something, and I was going to head back to Vegas, and that was the last time I saw him. I did the eulogy at his funeral, and that was one of the hardest things I ever had to do. Carl Bini's funeral. That was a really, really hard thing, and I didn't really want to do it, but how could you turn down the family? I know his wife since we're 12 years old. It was ran that deep, and so we had to go, all of us. I mean, there's 40 guys grew up together, hanging out on the street corner in Bensonhurst. That's how we all knew each other. And you see everyone at these three funerals. I mean, it's kills you. Just killed me, the three of them. I mean, and then my kids had gotten to know them. They called them Uncle Joe and Uncle Carl and Uncle Louis, and my kids got to know them because they were always at my house in Staten Island. It was like a clubhouse, uh, And the funeral was terrible. And then we did a bunch of charity things to help them. There's a good guy at casino in West Virginia told me he would match it. So we raised a bunch of money, and I was happy to able to give the wife check, like, it was a significant amount, and but I can't help but, you know, but thinking, and of course I came back to the city shortly after 9/11. As soon as you could, I came back. Uh, we did numerous fundraisers for things. I was happy to do it. A lot of the Soprano guys, we did a lot of stuff. Comedy club out in Jersey and all parties in Saratoga, so we could raise some money to help because you feel completely hopeless, right? Uh, and So I was around, and it was very eerie and horrible feeling, right? And then, as soon as I could in 2002, like in May, I moved to Battery Park City. Kind of wanted to be close to it, I think, And I lived down there for 14 years. Uh, and we lived on North End Avenue, which was the school is there. And I think that was kind of a home base for the kids and stuff in the neighborhood, after the attacks. And I lived down there, so I watched it being rebuilt, everything, and that was a good feeling. I moved down there in, yeah, I'd say May, April 2002, something like that. As soon as you could, really, and I saw them rebuilding the whole, the memorial, which every single time I still live downtown. Every time I go by there, their names are together. The three guys, they have their names together. Every time I go, I run my hand across them. They have a call. They have a foundation in Staten Island, which we went right before the pandemic with his daughters and his wife, and they raise money in his name. They have a golf tournament and stuff. Joey's kids, I keep in touch with. My daughter's friends with his daughter now. They're about the same age. Louis's wife, I went to high school with. Uh, I believe they made him a chief. He was on the verge of becoming a chief. And I saw his son not that long ago down here. He had just gotten engaged. I just can't help, like I said, they came out for the Super Bowl party and there was all the cheerleaders and all that stuff. I can't, they came back for some reason. I It's just so odd to me. I mean, I come back, they reached out to me and joined me in Vegas. They come back and suddenly they're helping me. They help me move, help my wife, I mean, those are the kind of guys those guys are. Just so many sad stories, so many memorials. I mean, it's way different than the pandemic. Way different. I can't say what's worse. They're both horrible, but this was just so devastating for so many people. And I knew some other people also that died, acquaintances, kids I grew up with. A dear friend of mine, my sister, her best friend growing up, who was, like when you grow up, and I grew up in a wacky family, you sometimes there's somebody that's stable, like whether it be an uncle or a friend, and you're happy to see them. That's what this girl, her name was Barbara and Tochi, and she was like that. She was always like kind of level headed and come over. You're always happy to see her. And she just happened to be at the Trade Center for one day for a business meeting, you know, and she died. Yeah, it was a real, well, it is and was. I mean, it still is a terrible, terrible time. And I've gone to, I like when they read the names off. I like that a lot. They should never stop that ever. Uh, Never. And I don't know if they did it this year. Did they?
Yeah,
No.
yeah, they did.
Yeah. They should never ever stop that. And I know it brings up feelings, but they should never stop that. And yeah. I These three guys, we had rekindled our friendship, and very sad time. Listening to those bagpipes now kills me. Really kills me. It's really sad. And I got to know a lot of the firemen from Rescue Five, and they were like a family and very supportive with each other. And yeah, three really, really good men, really good guys. I know everybody says that after somebody dies, everybody goes, "What a guy!" And sometimes guys aren't that nice of guys, and they died. And yeah, you don't want to see anyone die, but no, the guy really wasn't that good a guy. These were really, really good fathers and good guys. They were all long term married. I mean, they had been together. I mean, it's hard to believe it's what's it, 20 years now, 21,
We're coming up on 20 years.
20 years. It's amazing. I mean, I'm 63. They were like my age, maybe a year older. Two of them were a year older. Carl was my age. Yeah, it's. I'm really happy that I got to hang with them again. And I remember one time I introduced them to Keith Richards at a premiere. He came to one of the premieres. He was a big Soprano fan, or is, and I got to uh, introduce them, so they got to know everybody. And I kind of like that to share because a lot of times if you don't have any, I have my wife here, but then sometimes her and the kids were in Vegas, and you have no one to share things with. You know how that goes, and they were around. They came to the premiere, and they were happy. I made them happy. They were very proud of me. You know.
Steve, at what point did you realize, did you know that they were missing? And did they ever find, were they able to identify their remains? Because so many they were not.
I think two of them they did not. I think Joe just a small piece later on. And I got to tell you, and especially Carl and Louis. I mean, all three, but they were the kind of guys. If there was any way out, they would have got out. That's the kind of guys. These were like guys from the streets. You know what I mean. They were blue collar guys, and uh, I mean, they would have found a way. Uh, for a while, I kept checking in with his wife, at the beginning, and then there was all those rumors, right? Oh, there's a whole bunch of them down there. Remember that? They're down in the basement and they can't get out and they're stuck and they can only last 6 days. Remember all that stuff? And you're hoping, and then after X amount of days, it wasn't going to happen. But there was that hope. I don't know. There was so many things going on. Why, what, where? So much uh, false information. Yeah, there was a whole group of them. They didn't find next to anyone after a couple of days. No one was alive. Right? It was just, I think, the first 24 hours. I did a documentary where I voiced one of the. I was one of many actors that voiced the people's last phone calls that they happened to have, and that was heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. Guys calling their wives, their kids, their moms, vice versa. Women calling their husbands, and I was a part of that, which I was anything that I could do to help. I'm happy to do. But yeah, and then once you found out, I mean, it was devastating. And then I came back here, like I said, as soon as I can, and then me and my wife attended those three funerals. I mean, just brutal. And then I had to do the eulogy. I mean, I never did anything like that before,
Steve, how about on the set of The Sopranos? What was the reaction, the atmosphere, and was there any discussion of, I can't remember if there was any reference to 9/11.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then at some point they took the towers out of the opening. Uh, there was a reference. There's that whole Quasimodo where Bobby tells Tony, he asks, "How's your mother doing?" After 9/11, he says, Quasimodo predicted all this. That's kind of a famous scene. Uh, they certainly had some of that in there, and there was a thing with terrorists and the FBI. Yeah, they acknowledged it for sure. Uh, a lot of the guys, and I had gotten the call, but I wasn't here. A lot of the guys came down the first day or so on the pile there. They came down. Uh, I think Vinny Pastor, I don't know exactly who, but numerous guys came down to I remember at the time saying, well, what the hell, what's anybody going to do? What is me going down there going to do? But I guess if you, a little hope, put a smile on someone's face, and that was it. Joey Mascali, who his name was, his brother, John, actually put on a uniform, and firefighters, Rescue 5, he went on the pile looking for his brother. They were a year apart, and he was down there for quite a while looking for his brother. Yeah.
Vinny Pastor, Big Pussy, told me he went down there several times, to cheer on the first responders. He came down with a 9/11 cancer.
Yeah.
He recovered from prostate cancer. But the thing is, if you were down there even a little bit of the time, that day or the 8 months after, you could get sick.
Absolutely.
Is your health okay? Because you actually moved. I mean, you were already in the zone.
Knock on wood, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine. But yeah, my kids went to school there. Both of my kids one went to junior high there, PS 89. One went, and the other one went to the elementary school, 89. Uh, they, there's still a lot of families left. They were out of their apartments for I don't know how long, months and months. They weren't allowed to go back in until.
No, actually, a week later, the EPA commissioner, Christy Todd Whitman, said the air is safe. And people went back, and the schools reopened weeks later.
Really?
Yes, and people are sick today.
Weren't back for a long time.
That was their decision.
Yeah, well, I know that because obviously after we had moved down there, we met a lot of people, and that was their decision. Yeah, I lived down the north end, and then I moved down all the way to the south end. I lived there for 4 years, and then I moved to the south end. Actually, down that end there, and I lived there for 9 years. But there was a lot of people on the pile. I mean, Michael Imperioli lived down the block. He saw bad things. Him and his kid, his son, I think was 5 years old. He went to pick him up at that school. 234 is right there. You could see this, down West Broadway. You could see that, and he was very much, there. They made reference to it. I don't remember. We weren't shooting at the time, but we shot not long after. We came back. I don't know the exact timeline, but I want to say September, early October, late September, early October. I remember I had an appearance at an Italian festival with a couple of the guys, Johnny V, Artie Bucco, and I don't know who else. Maybe Federico. I don't know, but and I didn't want to do it. And that's when the casino owner said, if you guys come, I don't want to do it. I said, this is ridiculous. Italian, for who gives a shit, about Italian festival? And he said, if you come, I'll, you know, give you money for the charity. We had started it. So he matched it dollar for dollar. So I think we wind up giving about 35,000, 40,000 to each of the families, the three families. So felt good about that. It was, a lot of friends, and, I was happy about that stuff, bad time, bad time. It should never be forgotten. And, then you got all the kooks with the conspiracy theories and all this crazy stuff that makes it even worse, Yeah, the city was, in a crazy way for some reason, Shelly, people were nicer afterwards. People, cared, so like people cared for one another. Restaurants were helping people. And you know what I mean? You got that, everyone, it's like also like Christmas time, right? Everyone's nice, like from Thanksgiving to New Year's. Then they get back to being their shitty selves again, right? You know, honestly, right? People are nice. I always say, hey, if every month could be like December, everyone's happy. They seem to be happy for the most part. Hanukkah, there's Christmas, and there's, all the, whatever holiday you celebrate, and people seem to be just a little bit nicer. And that's what happened for quite a long time after 9/11. People cared and hugged, and yeah, there's people that hung out in bars that you never saw again. They died, and there was all these events and fundraisers and trying to help each other. It was unfortunately, for the most part, of course, not all, but that was short lived. But I still, I mean, of course, I'll never forget those guys. But there's something. Somebody up there helped me. Somebody somewhere. Those guys were involved getting back into my life. I remember I was down in Little Italy. Somebody stole the mirror off of. I had a truck, a brand new one, and stole the mirror. And I called Louis. He was like a car guy, and he came right over and slapped another one on. No questions asked. No. It's amazing how generous. Firemen, for a long time were very popular. And as they should be, but then like everything else in America, they build you up and they tear you back down. Then firemen became a target of bad stuff. You know what I mean? Like suddenly they became like, well, they were once heroes, but now these guys are going to burning buildings. They're heroes every day of the week. Matter of fact, we have a charity coming up with Steve Buscemi. We're doing something for a lot of the Sopranos for the firefighters here. 9/11. I don't know when this is going to air, but there's a charity thing. We're doing a reading, like a cast reunion. Vinny Pastore, myself, Edie Falco, Lorraine Bracco, Michael Imperioli, David Chase, uh, the kids, everybody, and I'm happy to be able to do that to help them any way I can.
You'll have to let us know.
Yeah, I think it's the 18th. We're doing it over Zoom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's the 18th. Steve Buscemi's Firefighters Fund or whatever it is. Yeah.
I thank you, Steve.
New York's classic rock, Q1043.